Let us begin. G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza, and today we're going to have a bit of fun with this creative art box. Not sponsored. Why does everything I do have to feature a prominent brand as if they pay? This creative art box is the sort of thing I would have really dug as a kid, and I'm curious as to see what I can do as an adult. This video is sort of going to be in two parts. The first part, we're going to unbox it, because there's a lot of stuff in here, and I don't know what I'm going to be working with. Maybe we'll test a few of the things out, see how they are to work with. Then in the second main part of this video, I'm going to create the most epic artwork I possibly can using everything and anything from inside this box. So let's crack it open, shall we? The Kids Creative Art Box, complete with rusty razor blade to open. Remember, do this with adult supervision, kids. Or don't. I'm not your dad. He left because he's an alcoholic. Okay. Ugh. What do we got in here? First things first, we have this sketchbook, and then we have... Oh, who needs a rusty razor blade when you've got a premium quality kids safety scissors? It's only plastic. There's no like metal bits because they're safe. I'm not going to be able to cut straight lines with this. All right, let's clean this up a bit. Let's play around with these one at a time. Starting with our crayons, we have a packet of 16 crayons. Open this baby up. Variety of colors here. Yep, your standard crayons. They have a nice smooth tooth. A texture. I don't know how to tell what the quality of crayons are, but they seem like crayons to me. Next, what is this? Washable glue stick. Oh, it's like a stand, so it doesn't roll away from you. That's innovative. There you go. And it goes down blue, and it'll dry clear. Clever. Next, we have these chalk. This chalk. And I'm trying to open it, but these scissors don't do a very good job. I mean, this is very clearly chalk, and I don't know how useful this is for paper. Oh wow, that actually goes down pretty good. You can cover large surface areas with this, although it is going to rub off. That looks nice. That's better than I expected. I'll be honest, I thought this was more of a pavement chalk thing. I mean, it probably is, but it shows up on paper better than I expected, so that's positive. All right, what else we got in here? We got 3 paints. Does it even come with a paintbrush? No, it doesn't. We go get a paintbrush. Okay. Brushes. What do we got? Oh, I got paint on my pants. Don't look. Oh crap, someone's gonna make a gif out of that. I swear this is family-friendly content! Mostly. I need to bring in a roll of toilet paper, because I feel like today's video is gonna get messy. I already have paint on my nails. By the way, in a recent video, people have commented on my shiny nails. I am a very bad nail biter, if you can't tell by the shortness and rawness of my fingers. And the shiny stuff is that bad tasting stuff that I coat and coat on my nails, try and stop myself biting my nails. So if you want to just stop commenting and making me feel insecure about my shiny nails and my fat fingers, that'd be great. Thanks. Back to the video. Bad self-esteem doesn't get views, Jazza. Exploiting children does. All right, what do we got in here? So this is this paint is quite shiny. Ooh, very sparkly. It's hard to sort of show on the camera. If I tilt it a little bit like this, you still can't tell, but it's shiny. So I won't sample out those paints because we know the gist of it after seeing the red. And then we have 2 more packets of things. First being colored pencils, 12 color pencils to be precise. Very high quality professional grade color pencils, as you can see. Yep, they're definitely pencil-y. Alrighty, okay. Pencils, and then last but not least we have washable markers, which is good because if I get this in my pants, all I need to do is wash my pants. I mean, that sounds straightforward, but I actually haven't washed my pants in about 4 years. I don't even think I wash my pants. I think I just buy new pants by the time my pants are begging for a wash, which in my head is like every 4 years. Washable markers, we have, what do we got? Primary colors and a few other ones, black and brown and stuff. These are pretty straightforward. Yeah, they have a sort of a point tip that you can use as a chisel tip. So you can use a fine point or a chisel point or get a calligraphy look. Let's do a calligraphy J for Jazza. I don't know how to. There you go. They're my calligraphy swirls. Is that how you do calligraphy? Now look, obviously I've just played around and I haven't really shown these supplies off to their full potential, but I do indeed in this video plan on getting really epic. But one of the problems I have is with this pair of scissors, and it's not very neat. So I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make an exception and add to this box an adult pair of scissors, because I have a really epic idea as to how I can use these different mediums, bring them all together in a piece that really makes sense and use of the different textures and aesthetics of the crayons and of the pencils and textures and chalk and all that stuff. I do have a piece in mind that I'm gonna have a lot of fun with, and I want to build up a whole bunch of layers, get a really cool three-dimensional look. It's gonna be particularly tricky because this paper is very thin, so I'm wondering if I'll have any luck layering paper together. Probably not, but let's just see how we go. If I lightly put down blue tack like this, the worry is if you put it down too thick, it can warp and get all bendy when it dries, so I'm just doing it very light, just to see if the paper will stick to the layer underneath without getting really warpy texture. The other exception I'm making to only using everything in the box, of course, is brushes, because it didn't come with any. Thanks, Crayola! Alright, the glue is dried. Ooh, I'm peeling off both at once. I'm just feeling that. See, it's not warpy. That's a good sign. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty flimsy, like it will probably pull apart relatively easy. Yeah, there you go. So I have to be careful with that, but it does cut a little nicer and have a slightly thicker feel. This should be interesting. It's definitely going to be tricky, but I'm going to have a lot of fun. Let's dive into it and see what we come up with. So first off, I take lots of 3 pieces of paper, cut them up to trim them and make them a bit neater, and one by one glue them together so I have something a bit thicker to work with, because I plan on working with something with layers and a really cool aesthetic of depth. Next, it's time to plan out the piece. So just on a piece of paper on my sketchbook, I play around with the idea of the Alice falling down the rabbit hole and how I can layer things to create that sense of depth. And also by color coding my sketch, I pre-plan which parts of the image will come from which piece of paper, just so I can use my prepared paper a little economically. Now it's time to jump into creating the artwork, starting off with the main character in our piece, that being Alice falling down the rabbit hole. I really wanted a very intense expression and a sense of drama and a really cool perspective of her actually falling away from us. This hopefully to create the effect of pulling the viewer of the artwork in. Next, to make economic use of the paper, I create the outermost edge and topmost layer of the rabbit hole and add a few little objects inside, all of which I then go into the pencils and color in carefully, creating as clean an aesthetic as possible, and finally outlining each of the elements in a rich black crayon to create a really solid outline. In coloring the outermost layer of the rabbit hole, I make sure to use a bit of a textured look, altering my directions and my lines as I go. They're not the most expensive or fancy pencils in the world, so it's hard to get a really flat and clean look, but I work with this to my advantage by altering the direction of the texture, which creates a really cool earthy sort of feel. I cut out each of those parts as carefully as possible and set them aside, but I also use the outermost tunnel layer to sort of outline where the edges of the next layer of the tunnel should be. Going a little outside of that and then working into my next layer of tunnel, which is of course also going to be cut off, but this time once I finish my shape, I color it in with crayons to create a much richer aesthetic, because the outermost layer is colored with pencils, it's a lot lighter, and then the next layer down with crayons makes it much darker and helps create that sense of depth that I'm going for. The bottom page, I was going to do some more tunnel, but I thought it would be cool to use the sparkle paint and use that shiny aesthetic and mixture of more interesting colors to create a bit of a portal, something perhaps waiting for Alice when she reaches the bottom of the rabbit hole. I mix these in loosely together and then set it to the side to dry. It's a very thick and quite watery liquid, so it takes quite a bit of time to dry. In the meantime, I move on to my last piece of paper, creating a bunch of more interesting props that I'm going to lay on the topmost layer of the piece, and really essentially set the tone and create that feeling of wonderland that we're falling into. I take my time shading and coloring them in as solidly as possible. I do color them in with pencils, again with the lighter objects appearing most near the viewer, just to again aid that sense of depth that we're going for. And with those neatly and carefully cut out and set aside, it's now time to construct our image and build these layers and create that really intense sense of depth. Starting off by cutting up the back cover of the sketchbook, the cardboard. I layer them in 4 at a time in strips, which I intend to cut up later and use to help protrude the different layers from one another, but not too much. I also plan to use it for that because it's a much stronger material. However, the front cover, which is a little bit lighter but still much thicker than the pieces of paper, I cut into strips and, gluing at each end, fold over each other several times and create a bit of a spring. I do this twice, and these I plan to put under Alice, having her pop out much further towards the viewer, layer by layer, starting with the portal background and with the next tunnel layer adding the dots of of cardboard, gluing them on both sides and then attaching them one to the other. I had a touch of coloured chalk around the edges of the tunnel to create a subtle rim lighting effect. I build up each of the pages, and then once that's done, add each of the props, the smaller ones slightly protruding from the middle area of the tunnel and the larger ones on the outermost edges of the outside layer. And then last but not least, I attach the springs to the bottom of Alice, which brings together the final parts of our Alice falling down the rabbit hole piece. And here it is. This is the result of my creative children's box of art supplies in a bit of a layered art challenge here. I really enjoy the result, and I think the 3D effect is way more satisfying than I expected, particularly with the Alice layer with the springs. Everything else has sort of little layers of thick card to just help it push forward and create that depth effect and cast a little bit of shadow. Alice is really projected quite forwards and towards us, which really completes the look, I think. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like it and leave a comment with a suggestion for a future art challenge or medium you'd like me to try. And of course, subscribe to Draw with Jazza, where we have fun with art 3 times a week. And if you're interested in more art challenges or fun videos like this, I'll put a link in the card and in the description to check out a video I made very recently where I created a sculpture using nothing but blue tack. So go check that out. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to see more of my videos. And while you're at it, check out my shop where I sell ebooks, brushes, photo references, video courses, and more. There's another video you might enjoy from my channel over there, and you can also check out my behind the scenes daily vlog channel, Daily Jazza. That's it for now, and until next time, I'll see you later.